Oh, I loved it when a magazine would come out. There was a kiosk, a magazine sort of kiosk opposite Maisie's agency on the corner of that Regent building where she was. And that was my go-to spot if there was a new magazine coming out. There's always a certain date when you know when the magazines were coming out. So I'd be up in Auckland, I'd go straight across the road from the agency and see if it was on the stand. So it was quite cool seeing your big mug. Well, I knew it was a stepping stone up from, say, Fashion Quarterly, because that's our premier magazine in New Zealand for fashion. And Vogue definitely had heard of it. Even down at the farm in Morrinsville, knew that Vogue was something that you would, it was an aspirational thing to get the bookings with them. That was amazing. Once you've done a shoot for Vogue magazine, then you sort of start getting quite well known in the industry. So it was a great stepping stone to get those bookings. So, I mean, you don't make a fortune off your editorials or your covers of magazines, despite what people would think, but you need those tear sheets and covers in your portfolio, and that's when you start booking more commercial work, which is where you start getting the money in. So I remember my first booking for Vogue. It was over in Australia in Sydney, and the photographer was a gentleman called Grant Matthews, and I was warned he could be a bit scary as well. But they cut my hair off. I had this beautiful long hair like this, and I was with Vivian's over in Sydney, that's my agent, and they sat me down and said, "Vogue's called." I'm like, "Cool." It's like, "They want to chop your hair." It's like, "Oh, okay." But anyway, so I went to the salon, and they wanted to do the shag haircut. So it was a very layered do. There was myself and Sarah O'Hara. She was the blonde version at the time with that haircut. So we were working up a storm in Sydney. So they cut the hair off, and the shoot, the photographs looked amazing. Oh, definitely the top job in New Zealand is that cover of Fashion Quarterly. So I think I was on the cover of a few magazines at that time in New Zealand, but the cover of Fashion Quarterly, it was just so fresh. It was a beautiful white background, and it was so crisp looking. And it's something that hasn't aged either. You look at those pictures now, and they'd be something you could look at a magazine at the moment. But that was the absolute pinnacle. As a New Zealand model in New Zealand was that Fashion Quarterly cover. Paula Ryan was the one that gave me my first job. It was a huge honour to land such a booking, a big 8-page spread like that. So yeah, I'm very grateful to Paula for seeing something in me and giving me that opportunity. It's hard to think back to that time frame, but it just kept evolving, and it was because of the support I think I had from my agent Maisie Bestall-Cohen that without her guidance and support I possibly wouldn't have been as successful as I was. Did not like getting my hair cut off because I'm almost 6 foot. Quite a gangly person. I relied on my nice long hair to maintain sort of like a feminine quality about me. I remember sort of, tearing up the dance floors in Milan, sort of flicking my hair everywhere. So to have it chopped off for that shag haircut for Vogue, it was like, right, this is work. And it still had some length, but then having it cut like an inch or two short all over, I was devastated. I felt like a boy. That was not a good time. It took forever to grow out. Just incredibly practical person. I keep on going about that childhood, sort of growing up on a farm, but also with the horses and competing at shows. You have to be really practical. So, and as far as sports and things go, I'd always sort of give something a try. So, I don't know. That's just some ability I had there, or some sort of knack that was about me that coped. it wasn't easy, that's for sure. Maybe the memories faded a bit on how well I was coping with it behind the scenes. But it's not a career that I encourage friends, kids to get into. It's like if they're good at sport or at school, stick with that. You could do modelling. You don't need to do it when you're 15. Though I think that era is gone by now. Definitely, if you want to give it a try, 18, do it then. Just be your own person a bit more. Oh, I would have done over 100 TV commercials. I love doing them. I love the structure. You get there first thing in the morning, and catering would be decked out for breakfast, for every type of egg that you could think of. And I'd always inquire what was for dessert for lunchtime. But you've got a crew of big, strong men working on lighting and scaffolding and things, and so you can't just give them half a sandwich and say, she'll be right. So like I said, I love the infrastructure behind it. Everyone had their job and they were working to do that. So, but again,
It's so you, talking about the breath flow. So you like being part of a team?
Oh, I love being part of a team. I love the performance of it. I was known as the model that could talk. So anytime I could get my hand on some lines, that would be great. I just love the performance. I mean, I'd get flown around the world to do a TV commercial, and you'd get there, it's like, oh, today you have to do ballroom dancing. Okay, let's give that a try. One time I was flown up to Johannesburg for a commercial, and it was in a different language. I was told it was for a certain product, got up there, completely different product, and in a language I was not familiar with, so we had to write everything out phonetically so I could say it. So, but I love the challenge. I love new things. I love to think on my feet and deal with things as they come my way. I would love to keep modelling, but physically, just with the spinal surgeries that I've had and the various accidents, I miss it so much, and I really wish I could be doing more, but physically and mentally, it's just, I think it's beyond me, but never say never. I'd still love to do some shoots in the future, but it has to be with the right team of people and the right environment. Whereas, I mean, I put my heart and soul into things, but I also need to know that people have got my back and will make sure that I get through it. Again, I'm just a very practical person and just try to get on with it. I don't want to fall out with people. I will stand my ground. I won't take any nonsense, though. I'm too old for that rubbish now. I think at 15 years old, everyone is quite different at that age. I know that I came to the table with quite a level of maturity. That could have been the aspect of growing up on a farm and just, I don't know, but there's certainly some 15-year-olds that you sure as heck wouldn't allow into the industry. They need to be quite protected, a little bit naive, I suppose, is one aspect, but just lacking the emotional sort of intelligence to deal with that. Yeah, you wouldn't want to be too young starting out as a model, especially these days. It's changed. I think I've always been quite critical of whatever I do. So, and modelling was one thing that I did. So likewise, I was critical when it came to what I looked like. You do look at the pictures and see, well, I could have done this a bit better. Or, this angle was not my friend. Hate to say it, but the kids today, they're a different breed, so I think you can't be naive going into the modelling industry now, especially overseas. There are some not nice people out there in this world, so you've got to be self-assured and look after yourself out there. Oh yeah, like there'd be so many different things. I mean, at one time I had to go to a circus school to learn how to fly and do the harness work. So that's what I loved about the modelling. It was so different. It wasn't just studio work all the time. I was in a hot air balloon one time in Italy. It was just the most random things. So it was such an adventure. It really was. You go on these amazing trips. Kylie back surpassed anyone in the New Zealand modelling industry with what she achieved overseas. I know she was so dedicated to her job, and she was such a smart businesswoman as well. But she worked so hard, and what she was achieving with her campaigns for Happy with Clinique, she was working for all the designers and shooting their campaigns. And yeah, my utmost respect to Kylie for what she achieved. I don't think we've had any other models from New Zealand that have achieved quite what she's done. Like the cover of Sports Illustrated for their swimsuit issue, that's been a very impressive career. And like the astute businesswoman that she is, it's gone on with what she's done with the racing industry. We're both heavily involved with the horse scene in New Zealand. Oh, of course, I remember writing articles about Kylie in these horse magazines. So, no, she's someone that I've always admired, and we catch up more often now on the school run or at the races than we ever did in the modelling scene. So it's a very small world that we live in. As a child, very much known to chatter in class. That would feature on the school report each year. But did all the sports and things that you had to do growing up in New Zealand, but the horses were always the strong pull in my life. I was fortunate that I could cross over from doing the editorials and with the magazine work onto the more commercial side. The money was definitely there in the more commercial side of it with your advertising. So you needed those good tear sheets from the good quality magazines like the Vogue magazines and the L's and the Cosmopolitans to build that book up. So the clients want to know that you can sort of morph into a different look and sell their product. So I love Christy Turlington, but Linda Evangelista was such a chameleon, and I know everyone says that, but it's true. She just had a way with changing her hairstyles and just her bone structure. She was just a fantastic model. So, yeah. Like I said, I love Christy Turlington, but Linda Evangelista really did do amazing things in front of the camera. Maisie Bestel-Cohen is she is the most amazing lady. She created me. She so kind and so gracious and such a lady. Her and Richard were just the most wonderful people. They started my career. They established me. She gave me so much support. She taught me so much. Just general deportment and how to conduct myself in public. I was a very, very lucky young girl to have Maisie start me off in the industry. She's a legend. I think Mum was more excited when I was on the cover of Horse and Pony magazine than when I was starring in Vogue. It was a different...
I know she would be.
Yeah.
She would be more excited.
Yeah, Mum was good because Mum would have to drive up from Morrinsville and drop me off at 8 o'clock in the morning for a shoot and be told, we can come back at 5. I'm like, what the heck? So she'd go to the museum and things and wander around. So you don't know how you're coming across, but I just know with my upbringing, with my family, you had to be practical. So, I
think your upbringing helped you.
I think my upbringing did help me a lot, get my foot in the door with modelling and get respected, I suppose, because just the work ethic. I remember having a sore back at the age of 5 years old because of cutting asparagus in the horticultural block on the farm. So with like helping at shows, helping run events in the equestrian world from a young age, that's just what our family did. So we're always very involved with community things. Oh, I think we've got some wonderful New Zealand models still coming through. So we've very diverse looks in New Zealand, which can lend themselves to many countries if they want to work overseas. So my favourite shoot would have to have been, it was for Fashion Quarterly, around about 93, 94. It was in an old art gallery that was quite decrepit. Neil Gussie was the photographer. We had Alice Roycroft as the stylist. Margaret Petchell was on makeup and Brent Lawler was doing hair. And I remember meeting there early in the morning. It was quite cold, but we shot all day and all night. And I think we ended up doing a cover try at 2 o'clock in the morning. But the work with the fluoro lightings that Neil had, it was like, even the Polaroids, I've still got some. It was beyond just a shoot that you'd expect to see in a New Zealand magazine. It was international quality. It was quite a spectacular shoot. So those tear sheets from that editorial were just amazing. No, I wasn't afraid of hard work. It was the expectation. And also part of being so young when you get into modelling is that you're used to taking instruction because you're still in school, or you might be in sport. So you're used to having adults tell you what to do, which, well, you just take the instruction. But then you had to be careful that you didn't get taken advantage of as well. So I think my parents were proud of me. I don't know if they completely understood what was happening with the industry. And I remember saying to Mum one time, why did you let me do that? Why didn't you stop me with a particular trip or something? And she said, well, we didn't know that we could say no. So we all went for a ride that we didn't know the destination of. So I'm not going to critique my parents for saying you shouldn't have let me go, because had they not let me go, then that would be the critique. So it is what it is. That's just the way it was. Yeah, my parents were very supportive. They could see that there was a potential to make money and have a decent career with the modelling, so they were supportive of me travelling and going away and doing it. Yeah, so it's not an opportunity everyone was given, so we saw that and we were practical and sensible with that. So because the modelling was becoming such a big thing in the world and it was quite talked about, people did treat me differently. At the horse shows, people would like to know what I was getting up to, because I was still trying to do the balancing act of riding at horse events and do the eventing and everything. Some people were nice, not everyone was. It meant a lot to be a Revlon Models. With growing up, it was quite a thing I wanted to achieve. So to tick that off, that was pretty cool. I'm very proud to have been one of their models and represent their brand. The week leading up to the TV commercial, which was shot down in Cape Town, my eyes were swollen shut just about. Don't know what happened, but I warned my agency, and I'd been to my GP and I'd been given shots to try and reduce it, but I had to go in for a fitting at the advertising agency, and they'd been warned, and I'd passed on the message to the agency to tell them, don't mention the eyes. So I walked into this advertising agency and they all saw me and they're like, and it did not look good. And so we did the fitting and we discussed everything about the shoot, and as I was leaving they said, you are going to do everything you can. I'm like, yes, I'm trying. So fortunately the swelling didn't come down, but the poor client, It did not look good. To represent New Zealand in anything that you do it's an achievement, and it's such a huge honour. I'm very proud of my country. I love New Zealand, and to fly the flag, that meant a lot. So to do that, and that was pretty awesome. I knew I was not going to win that because being a horse person, I saw they had Angela Dunn as one of the judges, and she was a beautiful lady with pale skin and raven red hair. It was just a beautiful girl. And there was a girl in the competition, I think it was Sarah Hughes, and I saw Angela Dunn with one of the other judges backstage watching her, and I thought, right, that's who's going to win. And again, this is a horse show background that I've got, so as a judge myself, that's who I picked as the winner, and that's who won. So I was looking at that as a really good experience. I was so young at 15, and I felt like this sort of wild card entry, so being there, so it was just a great way to get my foot in the door. No, I did do editorials and things with Women's Day and New Idea, but I worked with them more with the interviews. They'd come to the farm to do stories on me because, a horse rider from the Waikato, I was 15 and doing all these exciting things around the world. So my relationship with Women's Weekly and those magazines, that was based more on being interviewed. So not long after the Revlon Look of the Year competition, all the model scouts from around the world descended upon Auckland, and so I was seeing quite a few of them, and I think Maisie got quite excited. I was her new little star since she started Rachel Hunter off. So a lot of these agents were interested, and Billy Ford from Ford Models in New York, he was out there representing his mother Eileen, and we sat down and had the meeting, and because of that they said, we want you to represent New Zealand at the Supermodel of the World contest. We could do a competition, but basically we want you to do it, so we're going to cut that out and just please come to Los Angeles and represent your country. I've found a competition in a women's magazine for the Revlon Look of the Year and sent the pictures in, and that was being held by Macy Vestal-Cohen in Auckland, and made the finals for that. So headed up from the Waikato to the big smoke of Auckland and competed in that competition. So that's how I got my foot in the door and got my agent. So I was handpicked by Ford to represent New Zealand. So that was quite an honour to get the nod for that.
And you didn't have to win any competition to get it?
No, didn't have to win anything. They were scouting and saw what was on offer in New Zealand and made their decision that I was their winner. So, yay for me. So before I flew out to Los Angeles, I signed a 4-year worldwide contract with Ford Models. So landed in Los Angeles, knowing I was already quite special. So when they were calling out those finalists for the top 14, I was quite confident that I would hear New Zealand called out, and it did. So, but it was still pretty awesome to walk down those steps and take my position in the lineup. Anytime you get to represent your country is pretty awesome. So that was quite a thrill. To be a Ford model, it was quite an elite group of girls that would make that journey. It was a huge honour, knowing some of the girls like Rachel Hunter before me that had signed up and lived with Eileen Ford. There was Elle McPherson. There was a lot of top supermodels that were with Ford. So you knew it was quite a pinnacle to achieve that. It doesn't get much better than Ford. So as a 16-year-old, I was living with Eileen and Jerry in their apartment in New York, and I was quite protected. In hindsight, I was quite protected with getting to live with Eileen and Jerry, because I'd live with them in New York at the apartment, but then also go out to their lovely big mansion out in New Jersey on the weekends. So I was part of their family, which is a huge honour for anyone to welcome you into their home. So what they protected me from as well, with the industry, with certain people, in particular in New York. It's only as I got older that I fully appreciated what they did for me. So it's tough out there. I don't think I would send my 16-year-old daughter, if I had one, to New York on her own to model. It's a tough game, and I was fortunate that I did have people looking out for me and protecting me. So back in the day, we didn't have any airbrushing. The only time they would airbrush if it was a mega campaign for advertising, or if it was the cover of a magazine. So as models back then, we had to know how to model. We had a few tricks up our sleeves. There would be lots of safety pins and clamps behind the clothes to hide everything, to sort of like slim the arm of the sleeve. A big roll of toilet paper would be shoved down your back to stretch out clothes, double-sided tape everywhere. But you had to work it, you had to know how to work the clothing. So there was a pressure to maintain a certain size, but as the decade progressed, with the whole waif thing coming in, so that sort of early to mid-90s, there was a desire from the industry to get skinnier. So after a few years, I remember about 17, 18, that's when I started to struggle with my weight a bit. And they did come down on me quite a bit to say, get skinny. And there was never any sort of any advice or support, like, here's a dietitian and here's a program. It's just like, get skinny, so you'd make a plan on how to do that. I struggled quite a bit with my weight to get down to that ideal sort of skeletal size that they were aiming for a while there. But then I started progressing on to doing more TV commercials where they didn't mind you looking sort of reasonably normal compared to too skinny. The first ever modelling job I got, which wasn't long after the Revlon Look of the Year, was a shoot for Fashion Quarterly. It was an 8-page advertorial. It was for lingerie, and I remember starting off the day for the casting in my school uniform at Morrinsville College. And Mum picked me up from school and we drove up to Auckland. I changed into some clothes on the way and walked into the offices of ACP to see Paula Ryan. And there were 2 other girls walking behind me, and we walked through the door, and I walked into Paula's office and stopped, and Paula looked up and saw the group of girls, and she said, "Oh, what a beautiful face." And me stopped and went, "Yeah, they're pretty." But she was actually talking about me. So that was quite unheard of for someone, just a brand new model, to walk in and land a booking of that nature. And I think I could have been a bit nervous, only because it was such new territory. I didn't have a lot of experience when it came to modelling, so it was just, and especially the aspect that it was a lingerie shoot. So at the age of 15, to have to strip off in front of everyone down to beautiful G-strings and bras and garter belts, I think that was a little bit daunting. It was quite a cold day in that art gallery. So the photographer for that shoot was Des Williams, and I'd been warned I had to be on best behaviour because he could be a bit daunting, but he was really, really lovely to work with that day. So I was quite fortunate to have such an amazing team to work with. And it was sort of like then became sort of normal to work with that calibre. It's a different entity now with the whole digital thing and Instagram and TikTok. It's evolved. It's evolved so much. It's not what it was. I think we had a very special time in the 1990s with how glamorous it was. I feel the pendulum does keep swinging, so we'll go back to a more glamorous look, and then it'll morph in another direction. So stay tuned, our era is coming back. One time I refused to go back to Milan for a stint, and they said, take your mother, you'll love it. Mum hated it more than I did and left after 6 weeks. But we ended up going on a shoot through Tuscany together, and there was a bunch of editorials, and there was some sheep involved. So Jocelyn's running around this paddock rounding up the sheep. I was fortunate to start in the early 90s, so it was more of a glamorous time, that's for sure. We were just coming out of that 1980s sort of feel. So, and I love getting glammed up. I remember growing up as a kid, just with our own families, like snapshots and things. It was such an exciting thing to like drop off that roll of film, and then it magically, like a week later, the prints would come back and you'd pore over them, and it's just a different era now. Yes, there were some beautiful girls, like the supermodels out there with Christy Turlington and Linda Evangelista and Claudia Schiffer, they're beautiful girls. The ones that we had coming out of New Zealand, the Kylie Baxters, the Jeanette Williams, it was a beautiful time for modelling. See the work that so many people went to make me look good. So I can appreciate the artistic qualities that have all come together to make me, the model, look good. So I was just fortunate to work with some really good teams, I think.
You're modest.
You felt like you were a team member for sure with modelling back then, because we had to all work hard to get it right. There was no reliance on digital enhancement to fix problems, so we had to get it right, and we weren't shooting on digital photography either back then. It was all on film, and films cost a lot of money to, and then we all were very much accountable. So the proof of being a successful model was that you kept on getting booked, so you had to be doing something right because time was money. Those magazines, especially the covers, were such a powerful entity for your portfolio. So everything now with digital, everyone's quick to do a shoot and have that uploaded by the end of the day. There was a magic about the magazines being on those stands. It's something, the monthly magazines coming out. It was special. It was very special. Bone structure. I painted up well. I had quite a glamorous look to me, but my performance, I think that was a huge factor with my success, is that you get dressed up and you're portraying a character as such when an image that you're trying to sell to clients. So it's like, what am I looking down the camera and trying to sell? So it was very performance-based when I would work, and that helped me a lot when I got into doing TV commercials and then getting into acting. So I think that's just something that I had that got me through, that appealed to the photographers I was working with. So, I mean, that's why you keep on getting booked again. So you must be doing something right. But one of my worst jobs, it was a TV commercial, and it was shot over in South Africa, and I had to be pulled out of the water. I spent the entire time in this saltwater pool beside the ocean, and we're on the Atlantic Ocean side there, and it's freezing cold. And the client started complaining because my lips and my face had started turning blue. So yeah, they had to pull me out, and we had to actually finish shooting that commercial and the second half of the day we're actually on the beach on another coast in South Africa somewhere. But they freaked out about the blue lips. So I think the weather and the elements usually contributed to how much you enjoyed a shoot or not. And I think turning blue, unless you're a Smurf, it's not the look you want to have. I think with the look that I had, I could work now as a model. The bone structure was there, so you just get painted up to whatever they want you to look like. So I think that would still be standing with that. No, that's a misconception. You don't have to be beautiful to be a model. Sometimes the most beautiful girls don't paint up well for photography work. It's just amazing that, that's the bone structure. It's a really important thing, just how that light falls on your face, and how the camera some beautiful girls just don't photograph well and their features don't pop. And you see a girl in person and she might have a small nose or a large nose, but on camera it just soaks up the camera and she looks amazing. So yeah, it's different pocket money change, that's for sure, with the money that you can be earning with the modelling. So you just squirrel it away and be careful with it, because you never know what's around the next corner. But with the modelling, you didn't know if you were just going to be there for a season or for a couple of years or had more longevity. So you just have to be really sensible with your money. But it's hard to, because you do go off and do exciting things and you travel around and you take a bunch of friends out to dinner and what have you. So yeah, easy come, easy go. So you have to be careful with your money, even though you're perceived as earning a lot more than the average teenager. I know people would love to think that we're all just dumb models, but there's a few of out there that have an IQ that's not too low. You do need to be a sensible businesswoman. You're running a business, you are the business, so you've got to look after yourself. You've got to be taking care of your diet and everything. So you can't turn up to work looking less than perfection. So you're having to conduct yourself in a very business-like way. You need the fabulous, exciting tear sheets from those good magazines to make the money from the lesser known products or brands, possibly. I did enjoy runway modelling. A lot of the girls would get nervous, but that wasn't something, performance-based things don't get me worried. But as soon as I'd hear the music, bam, I was on. And I just I did love walking the runway. That was pretty exciting. But as you're walking down there, you're just projecting. It's like, someone buy this outfit, basically. Sort of thing. Like, different shows have different themes, so you have to project what they want from you. So.
Did you love the theatre of it?
Yeah, the dramatics of it. I loved the performance-based things, getting into character. But one of the funny stories, I did the Benson Hedges Fashion Awards a couple of times down in Wellington. And the first time I went down in the bus with all the models, and that was an exciting journey. But the second year I was like, no, I'm going to fly, because I had a friend that was in the theatre down there doing a show, so I wanted to catch that. So I flew down, but Mum went on the bus and she was going to be my dresser. And Jocelyn and I worked really well together when it came to the fashion parades, because arm, leg, with stocking shoes, all these things. But it was halfway through the show and I dived into this outfit and Mum ran the zipper up and all I could say was, skin! And she'd managed to collect quite a bit of my flesh into the zipper, and we had to unzip me from this without getting any blood on the outfit. So I think that was Mum's only big mistake as a dresser. But Jocelyn was pretty good value. That fucking cat. Sorry, kids. Now he wants to come back in.
Our pizza story really funny. It's a background noise.
It's a different era now. So many demographics. Can you hear that cat? Sorry. Does he? Don't they know who we are?
Didn't he get them in mind? I feel it.